Alright guys, this video is just as much for me as it is for anyone else. A lot more work done tonight. I know you don't see anything done over there, but mentally a lot's going on because that's what actually makes the physical things happen smoothly, isn't it? I did a lot of designing on the blade carriage, and even if it's messed up, I still need to remember it, what I designed. So let's get going. Yeah, did some thinking about dividing the middle. This is like the middle section of the table, 12 inches. Did some thinking about dividing them, and it turns out that when the gaps decrease by a percentage, so if the distance from the pin location is small to the actual edge, let's say this edge was here, and I put the pin location in the edge, then like this gap will decrease by the percentage of the gap. So I can actually get away with a gap that goes down to like, I think 7/16 if it's 3/4, but that won't really, as far as the slot in the table goes. You can see I actually made a pretty small one. I think that's a 1/4 inch router bit, or 1/2 inch router bit. But and like a regular, this guy here had a 1/16 under 3/4, had 11/16 gap on, and it's got a bevel, so it's got to have something. And speaking of bevel, and speaking of everything else under the sun, we've got to do some thinking about how do we take a parallelogram and shift it into this middle table section. Alright, so this is what I've come up with. The 1/2 inch steel rod comes through here, threaded with a nut. It's bent, it comes up into there, and then even a wooden clamp or some sort of clamping mechanism, but you can like route out this groove. It's got to be welded over to here to leave it, and then this is routed out too, leaving something for the actual blade carriage carriers. So like if the aluminum block on the motor is here, it's just a piece of flat steel, or actually two, that are bent to that shape, and they come around, and on the aluminum block it's a piece of angle iron, right, with a slot. Or it doesn't even have to have a slot, right? It can just have a bolt. And then on the rod, on the rod, there's two of these guys held together at the bottom. Or maybe I can make one and put a slot in it. But either way, a slot with just a knob, wing nut type deal, and you get your up and down action. Okay, isn't that fun? That just sounds like a lot of work to me. So anyway, we've still got to think about the bevel adjustment, and we've got to think about support for the table over here. We do know that this needs to be 2 inches, and then the other support for the table is pretty simple. It doesn't get a groove because you need a slider capability, and it's just bent at that angle so that it comes down through there, threaded, not bent at the over and then forward like this guy. Anyway, the slider, and then that's got to be 2 inches there. So as long as here to here is 10 inches, we're good. So I'm gonna erase those lines. Now, what about the bevel adjustment? Well, what I realized is that we can come, a piece of angle iron can just be bolted on here, Something would have to be done to keep it, make sure that it spins with the rod. I don't think that would be too hard to make it interlock. Alright. And then the angle iron basically turns that corner so that a rod can just go through straight right here for the other carriage member, or however far over it needs to go. It may need more over here. And it can just be threaded on the ends so that it functions, but it still pivots from this point. So it's like big swing arm up here, little swing arm up here. And hopefully I won't see any problems with that. I don't see why the motor can't pivot off a little swing arm here and then a big swing arm here that comes back to, and then that would be going at different angles. I don't see why that wouldn't work. So anyway, then it's got to connect back to the other guys, and the other guys are those little bars that are like bent around, or maybe the one, I don't know. Two I like, because then I can bend it back and it gives me a place for a bolt. Right? And then off of here, where this guy is, I've got the bend for a slider, and then it can be like twisted and then have a notch put in it, and then that connects to this bolt. It's supposed to be a bolt. Whoa. And that's basically what's happening under the middle. Then we've got to look at the support under the whole table. Trying to keep this as simple as possible. Hopefully we will succeed. But a bevel adjustment, and these sliders and all this, I mean, we're gonna have to have something. Oh yeah, on these they don't actually have to come up very high, but we want a washer or some sort of bushing that's circular on the top, both these guys, to allow them to nothing will hang up here as this spins. Ta-da, right? Anyway, that's pretty much it. I just noticed a problem. This one is going to want to try to come out of his doodads, because this swings like that. So what you have to do is don't mount them here. Mount them towards the inside, and they should serve the purpose enough so that I don't see why it'd be a problem here. I guess it'd be a problem if I tried to go the other way, but I don't see why that would be a problem either. Because like if I tried to go this way, if I tried to go this way past the edge, it would hang up on that. So it's pivoting the other way. That's the problem. You see kind of what we go through. We're not even down to too much calculation. You saw a lot of other math we were doing, so hopefully this is enlightening. Hopefully this will help me not mess up.